specifically for like tweens before and teens. I kind of thought, to be honest with you, maybe it was like beneath me. I figured like, no, I'm a serious author. I'm only going to write for adults. And I knew someone at Simon & Schuster. She was the vice president of marketing, and all she repped was young adult fiction. So as I kept writing adult fiction, I would show it to her, and she liked it, and that's very nice. But she couldn't do anything with it because that's not what she repped. So it finally dawned on me. I was like, you know what? Give her what she reps. So I started writing teen fiction, and as I got into it, I realized, actually, this is great stuff to write. It's rich territory to mine, and who knows better about what it's like to be a dork in junior high and get beat up all the time than me. So yeah, I found it was actually a very enjoyable process. I really got into it, and I'm gratified when I get responses from the young readers, and I'm finding they're even younger than I had intended. I was thinking in my mind, I was like, maybe 15-year-olds will really get into this, but I'm finding 9, 10, 11-year-olds are getting into it. I had thought the vocabulary words were a little too advanced, but apparently kids nowadays are a lot smarter than when I was a child. So they're really getting into it, and I'm gratified by the response. I wanted to write something that was intelligent and edgy, a page turner, but not dumb it down just because it's for kids. And what I'm going to read for you right now is the end of the first chapter. It's a scene where this bully, now he gets suspended from school, and it's nighttime, and he's about to wreak his revenge. And you don't really need to know an awful lot about what happens. The scene pretty much explains itself. The bully's name is Billy, and it goes on. Near midnight, Billy Smeltzer cracked his bedroom door open and waited in the darkness for the sound of the freight train that rolled every night at midnight through Birchvale, bringing fertilizer from a chemical plant in neighboring Ardley to cities and ports far beyond the valley. In the living room downstairs, his father snored loudly on the sofa. His mother was in the master bedroom. A month ago, his parents had one of their many fights, the cause of which Billy stopped keeping track of. His father slept on the sofa ever since. Sneaking out of the house was always tricky. His father was of no concern. A bomb blast would not wake him. On the other hand, Billy's mother had the reflexes of a cat, always watching, always ready to give an unexpected pinch or jab. Slipping anything past her took extraordinary cunning. The midnight train, arriving right on time, blew its horn as it passed by the crossing point near Billy's house. Billy hated living next to the noisy train, but for once, he was grateful that it was so loud because it masked the sound of his footsteps as he left his bedroom and crept down the stairs. Earlier that night, his father gave him a smack in the mouth for getting a month's detention. He licked his split lip and tasted blood. The stinging pain made him clench his jaw in fury. Silent as a wraith, he glided past his dozing father and headed for the garage. The shaft of pale moonlight that came through the window barely illuminated his path. He stopped at his father's tool desk. Not daring to turn on the light, he searched in the dark for what he needed. His hands roamed over a hatchet, the blade sharp and cold. He picked it up, enjoying the weight of it in his hand. But the hatchet was not what he came for. He continued searching until he felt a can of spray paint. He tucked it inside his hoodie, zipped it up, and wheeled his bike outside as the last howl of the freight train receded and silence fell once again over the valley. He coasted down the driveway, looking behind as his house receded. Hunched over his bike, he pedaled like a madman, devouring the road. Wind whistled in his ears. The air smelled of frost and fallen leaves. In the dark woods that covered the rolling, tree-covered slopes of the mountains, a single set of headlights from the car slowly wound their way to the top of the ridge and then over to the next town. Nothing else stirred. The whole valley seemed deep in slumber. Billy did not notice any of it. He was intent on his goal. He left the residential streets and rode a bumpy dirt path into a forest. Barren tree branches clawed at the night sky. Splashing through puddles, he pedaled on. Through the trees, he saw a vast moonlit field. A football field. Birchvale Junior High glowed white as a bone in the silvery light. He set the bike against a tree and stuck to the shadows as he crept towards the building. He took the spray paint out of his hoodie, shook it, and in huge letters he wrote "Scotch sucks" on the white brick wall. Scotch is the principal, just so you know. The whole thing took less than 20 seconds, and once he was done, he grinned at his handiwork. He could not wait to see everyone's reaction at school in the morning. Principal Scotch would know it was Billy, but he did not care. Knowing it and proving it were two different things. Billy snuck back into the woods. He came to the tree where he left his bike, but it was not there. All the trees looked the same. Figuring that he misjudged his distance from the school, Billy walked farther along, but did not come across his bike. He glanced back at the school. It was quite far away. There was no way he left the bike this far from the school. Thinking he must have walked right past it, Billy doubled back. Someone stole my bike, he thought. However, he knew that was irrational. Who would lurk in the woods at midnight just waiting for a kid to leave his bike unattended against a tree? It was crazy. He wished he had brought a flashlight. What if he never found the bike? Would he make it home before his parents woke up? Worse yet, what if the police found his bike the following morning? They would know he was in the woods the night someone vandalized the school. Calm down, he told himself. You're thinking stupid. So what if the police found his bike? They would not know it was his. They could test it for fingerprints. They did it all the time on TV. No, 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 Billy hissed, his words coming out as puffs of steam. His brow was clammy with sweat. For the first time that night, he wished he never set out to vandalize the school. He wished he were still home, warm in bed, instead of tromping around in the cold, dark woods looking for his bike. A branch snapped. Billy froze. Dried leaves rustled. It could be a deer, he told himself. He heard it again, from a different direction. It seemed to head his way. Perhaps it was several deer. The sound grew louder. It was definitely coming his way. What if it was a black bear? It could maul him to death. Forgetting all about the bike, Billy ran. He chose this approach to the school because he knew it well. He knew all the dirt paths and where they led. Deer, bears, or whatever. He knew exactly where to run to escape. Then he heard a sound to his left. No mistaking it now, they were definitely footsteps, heavy and plodding, making no attempt at stealth. There was someone behind him and someone closing in on his left, herding him deeper into the woods. Dark figures moved between the trees, 1, 2, 3, possibly more. He ran through a stream, splashing water everywhere. The woods were terrifying at night, all shadows and looming shapes. Branches tore at his clothes. To his side was a steep ravine beyond which Billy knew was a well-lit office park. He flung himself up the steep slope. Gravel and chunks of dirt skittered beneath his feet. Gasping for air, in pure panic now, he scrambled and clawed his way to the top. In the distance, he saw the office park. A security guard in a company car slowly patrolled the empty parking lot. Billy opened his mouth to scream, but then a hand clamped on his ankle and dragged him down into the darkness. And that's the end of chapter 1. I wanted to end on something scary, something exciting, get the kids turning those pages. A lot of it, as I said, I drew a lot from experience that I had growing up, going through junior high. Junior high is a horrifying time as it is. People tend to think as adults that our lives are so stressful, managers breathing down our neck, pain in the butt coworkers, of which I am an expert. But nothing compares to what it's like to be 13, 14 years old, because the pressures are intense. Puberty is there, adulthood is coming on. No one knows how to be an adult. There's no guidebook to follow. So everyone's trying to take cues from everyone else. It's a terrifying time. And I find that it's actually scarier in junior high than in high school. Kids are crueler in junior high than they are in high school. And the pressures that kids face, look at even today, somebody last week or the week before, they got called a snitch, they went home, they hung themselves. It's a really rough time, it's a scary time out there. And what I wanted to do with this book is kind of like, to be honest with you, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I'm going to be honest. It inspired me because what Joss Whedon did with that television show is he used monsters to symbolize some of the real pressures that kids face every single day. And what this book is at its heart is about peer pressure. The main story of this is What are you willing to trade away? What parts of your identity are you willing to sacrifice in order to fit in and to get along and to be part of a group? Jason is a nerd. He's a dork. And he desperately wants to be cool. He wants to be popular. He wants to fit in. And in a very scary way, he's offered a chance to do that. And all he has to do is sacrifice everything that makes him who he is. So it's scary, but it has a message. It has something that I think young kids, and even anyone who survived junior high, can relate to. So I'm happy to read this to you guys, and you know, if you find that you like it, please let everyone know. Right now, a lot of adults are reading it, but some kids have read it, and I would love to get more feedback, especially from younger readers. It's very gratifying to see the response and see their eyes light up and see the characters come to life in their imagination. So, thank you.
Hopefully you enjoyed Richard DuBois, Sector 5, and now Jonathan Owens with Life Comes Death.
Hey guys, my name is Jonathan Owens.
Hi.
This is my first book, but I want to tell you a little bit about the author. I grew up with a lot of adversities. I was actually one of the kids that did fit it. But I did it in all the wrong ways. I did it with drugs and alcohol, and I was scared. I had a lot of fear in my life growing up, and my only outlet was writing. You know what I mean? I expressed all my feelings, and that's what this book is. It's my feelings. It's me trying to figure out who I am. I couldn't do that. I grew up with my mother. She did drugs, and I saw that at an early age. At the age of 18, turning into 19, I almost lost my life. I got shot in Plainfield, and a part of all those adversities, it took me to a turning point in my life where I was like, I want to do something. I want to be heard, and that's where I came about writing the book. But in the midst of writing it plays a part where like I do an intro, and then when you get to the middle, it's like you can't figure me out because I can't figure me out, and then it gets to the end, and you'll realize that you can learn from my mistakes. And I'm also working on another book after this, and I'll read a little bit out of that one too, what I'm working on, and what I want to do. As you can tell, I'm wearing a Team Stay Positive t-shirt. It's a t-shirt company that we also started because we want to work with kids. I've been through it, so they don't have to. I want to do motivational speaking at schools. I want to do Big Brother, Little Brother programs. We just want to spread positive messages to the world. Let me mind you, when I get up here and do stuff like this, I just do it. I don't have anything set up beforehand. I just come up here and just speak from the heart. So I'll start you guys off with the first poem that's an introduction. I also have quotes and pictures as well. The first quote is, I fell 6 times and I got up 7. I've been through hell, so where the fuck is heaven? My hands are cold and the ground is white. My knees buckle as I get closer to the light. My heart stops, but I keep going. Got shot, that's how my story keep flowing. If water was hot, then I'd be soaking. Better dead than alive at the sight of not knowing. Come to find out, I'm not a rapper, I'm a poet. Just so you know it, the name's Jonathan James Owens. If I died today, it'd be a present, because I only lived in the past for a second. But the future comes without a breath. What's next? We aren't living tomorrow. If today we experience death. Feels like life's over and I'm not gonna make it. If you want my life, you can try to take it. But get ready to box like Rocky versus Satan, or like Freddy versus Jason. I'm not playing. This is how I feel. If the devil's really real, trying to get me to sign a deal. That poem, I couldn't find my way out of my addiction, and it was just always a struggle. And I always felt like something was trying to pull me down. And a lot of these are just like, my emotions on how I felt about things. But I'll keep reading so you get to understand a little bit more of the story. Don't accelerate life because death comes quicker. Choose your path and live life without bitter. They say in poems, there's supposed to be a lot of meaning. Well, to me, I suppose, I'm just a human being, looking forward for what's right, that's what's behind me. I try to hide it out of sight. Cause I have a lot of demons that I've held tight. A lot of love, go I never kept. Love, just let go, out of my chest. When I took that road, I didn't look right. I just went left. Cause I was that young kid, hanging with them older thugs, trying to hide the fact I have a mother who does drugs. Instead of one, gave kisses and hugs. So I blamed her for my faults and doings. But nah, it was me and the drugs I was pursuing. It's the roads, the turns that I kept choosing. If I could go back and choose, right or left, I pick straight. Cause that's the only way I could be guided by fate. Put my hands together for God's sake, even though at times I feel that God is fake. But in this time, it's never too late. I can still change, be real or pose, pick from friends or foes. Well, this is my life, and it's the life I chose. So now, the casket will close, cause I'm just a human being, I suppose. That poem means a lot to me. It's the first time in my life I got honest. I was always struggling to do good, and I didn't know how. And that one is like the first poem that I wrote that I realized that I had something going for me. Keep reading. The light always defeats the dark, so you gotta remember who you are. I'm daydreaming about something in my past. Almost lost it all, still standing, so I'm glad to still be here and give you the best of what I have. The bullet may burn, but it's never going to pass. Memories of that night will never go away. I'm thriving for this life without a pay. I should be a ghost, my smile will never fade. Looking forward for tomorrow, I gotta stick with today. One day at a time, that's what I've been told. Visions of my life, those stories will be told. Burning bridges, getting a second chance. Now listen, you'll only be alive if you let yourself live it. I speak poetry, wisdom, a little kid wouldn't miss it. Just because I'm scared, doesn't mean I won't do it. The fear that runs through my veins will get me through it. Doesn't matter if I gave up, even if I blew it. I could fall down 8, I'm going to step to 9, because I have the motivation to stay alive. Your mind has two different sides, so it's up to you to decide. You ever get that feeling like you're slipping, stumbling, nothing to do? You're fighting, you're struggling, and you still can't move? I've seen that place, and seen better too. Why would I go back? Because you got something to prove. Here, take this. It'll change your mood. I help you when you're feeling down, give you advice. I help you act bad, get you feeling nice. I got you, John. I'm just trying to help. I'm you, so you could think of me as yourself. Oh yeah, you talk a good game. I'm your other half. And listen to this, faith. You got a dream, something you could reach one day. House, picket fence, or a cabin by the lake. Take a trip to the beach in the Sunshine State. Don't listen to this guy. He's just trying to make you change. Can't do it for you. Can you do it for James? And I got James actually written on my arm. James is it's my middle name, and it's my cousin's first name. He has muscular dystrophy. He plays a big part in my life, you know. And there was times in my life, like when I wrote this one, you know, and it comes to the end. You know, if I can't do it for myself, do it for somebody else. Do it for him, at least. You know what I mean? Don't let myself struggle. I had to learn a lot, and I realized today that the only person I can do it for is me. And that's what I talk about in my new poems that I write today. Give you guys a couple more. When the water is over your head and you can't win, you just have to learn how to swim. When a man's on his last limb, he ain't got nothing to lose. He keeps pushing forward like there's something to move. Well, this kid got a life, he needs to improve. Or it's all gone, so what else can he do? Life's not worth living if there's nothing to live for. Death could be the best option or the easiest door. Is it bad that I think this way? Or am I prepared for the worst? Not the fear of death, but fear living on this earth. It feels like a curse, but it's for the best, not the worst. So the first things first, I'll prove it works. You could be happy even if it hurts. If you don't believe me, just read my words. Feel my pain, my joy, and my hope. Because everybody fears the unknown or the present of being alone. Just remember, there's no place like home. Follow follow your dream and follow your heart. Nothing will ever finish if you never start. Forgotten dreams of a day that will never come. I bring light to the darkness, call me sun. I'm giving birth to this life, no abortion. Days of our lives getting old, it's boring. Can't settle for the piece of the pie, no portion. I'm treasured like a prize without fortune. I got that pretty boy swag, call me gorgeous. The knight in shining armor trying to find his fortress. When I'm lost, left out, I look like a tourist. I got to keep going to follow my dream. Keep writing these stories with a change of scene. I am who I am and I am what I believe. But that won't take back the things I've seen. Take back the person I used to be. Harsh lies and soft cries inside of me. It's the hard times and lost minds that scheme. So the long rhymes and far lines set me free. For that brief second I can actually breathe. Collection of my thoughts helped me see. Then I woke up because it was all a dream. I'm gonna skip just a little bit further. What's life and what is it worth? Is it a gift or a curse? Shit, all I know is it started from birth. We only live once. I'ma die trying. People know people. I'ma keep on fighting. It's just the way we are. Looking for a dream that isn't that far. But yet we struggling to start. Fight for the meaning that's in our heart. I hope you remember this face, cause I was the realest kid that kept it straight. Pipe my shit right. Always had a fade. Told kids, you don't have to live that way. Showed them my life, so they ain't have to live that pain. True wisdom, I ain't have to wish that fate. I was just living, I was given that name. Took it as what it was, and didn't complain. Held my head high, and did my thing. I ain't finished, I'm getting ready to rip this page. Newsflash, you're late, you ain't winning the race. The past is the past, can't fix that date. Tomorrow's a gift, cause you'll be in that day. Cherish every moment, and don't be afraid. Fear runs lives, so make the change. Make the change. Fear runs lives, so make the change. And that's where I was with my first book. I actually want to do a series. My next book is going to be called Still in the Grips. And the first one is I can't figure out who I was, and it's giving you a little bit of taste of how I write my poetry and getting to know the author a little bit. My next one I'm going for is addiction, what I went through in addiction, and I'm doing narratives in it, so you can see my perspective today looking back on it and what I felt. I started off, I'll read you guys a prologue. This is what I got so far. Y'all want to hear about the money, y'all want to hear about the cars, y'all don't give a fuck about a story, or care about the scars. People talk about the hustle, that end up behind bars, can't drop the pride, next you're fighting in the yard. I started my book off with this poem because it's actually a book. My whole life, I wanted to be a rapper. Today, I consider myself a poet. I feel that all people talk about nowadays is money, guns, cars, and demoralizing women. No one cares about a story. This book will bring you through the emotions I went through in my life. This is my story. I dealt with a lot of adversities as well. Fought through addiction. I almost lost my life at the age of 18 to a gunshot wound. Wrong place at the wrong time, I guess you could say. Actually, I see it as just doing the wrong thing in the wrong neighborhood. That's just me being honest. I went through a lot of pain, mentally, spiritually, and physically, caused by my own doing. The title of this book plays a significant meaning, mostly when I was still in the grips of addiction. I'm currently in recovery. My sobriety date is February 2nd, 2012. Don't let that fool you, because I still struggle from time to time. You will experience poems which represent the disease trying to take control. Now, if you're familiar with slogans, I can't keep what I have unless I give it away. This is the gift to anyone struggling with addiction. Identify, don't compare. Here's a fun fact. The name Jonathan means gift from God. Thank you, God, for blessing me with the gift.
Hey guys, I mentioned about Team Stay Positive. It's our t-shirt company. Started from a sticker, and and from there we've come to make shirts. We have this Facebook group, and I want to introduce Shelly. She, for the first time, she wants to tell us her story, and she's going to do it through reading.
Hi, my name is Michelle Wakeman. I wrote a short story about a struggle. It's called The Struggle That I Went Through. I was 17 when I first attempted suicide. I was getting off work, great day, just sitting in the parking lot in my car. When all of a sudden, I lost control of myself, and I took the car key and tried to slit my throat. Luckily, all I did was some scratches, but from that moment on, I knew I wasn't in control of my body. Days went by, and I wasn't myself. I barely ate, I wouldn't sleep, I would have nightmares, I didn't talk much, and I started cutting myself a lot. And I felt very suicidal. I was also scared to be alone. My friends noticed a change in me. One of my friends confronted me and asked me if I was okay. She told me I needed to talk to my parents. I didn't want to talk to my parents at first. I was scared they wouldn't understand me, or they would think I was just seeking attention. I finally got the courage to talk to them and told them how I was feeling. They were very worried and upset. I cried in my mom's arms all night and asked for help. It felt good to talk to my parents. The next day, me and my mom went to the doctors. I explained to the doctors that I didn't feel right. I lost control of my body, and I felt suicidal. The doctors were very concerned. She gave me a list of hospitals for psychiatric care. That night, I had my best friend sleep over since I was too scared to be alone. I was still cutting, not eating, and not sleeping. I had to sleep, my friend slept over since I was too scared to be alone. I was still cutting, and so on. I thought school would keep my mind off things, so I went to school. Boy, was I wrong. I couldn't concentrate or keep from tearing up. Then during class, my teacher called me out of the room and did I talk to her. She asked me if I was okay. I wanted to lie and say yes, but I knew that I needed the help, so I told her I wasn't okay. I started to cry and I told her everything. Right away, I was sent to the guidance department. There I met a woman who was a psychiatrist. She was very nice. She explained to me, I explained to her how I was feeling for the last couple of days. A few minutes later, she was on the phone with my parents talking about UMDMJ. She said it a couple of times. When she got off the phone, she explained to me what UMDMJ was. It was a psychiatric hospital, and I was going to go there for the help I needed. My parents came to pick me up, and we drove to the hospital. I was kind of nervous at first when we got there. We filled out lots of paperwork, and I was put into this room with a man who determined whether I was admitted to the hospital or not. My parents waited outside. He asked me lots of questions. Once that was over, he brought my parents in and we talked some more. Then he left us in the room for what seemed like forever. During the time, my dad was trying to make jokes to cheer me up because all I was doing was crying. Because I lost control of my feelings and my body, I figured out there was a demon inside me. My dad was joking around and called it Casper, but the name just stuck, so that's what I called it. Finally, the man came back and was told I was going to be admitted. I started crying hysterically. I didn't want to leave my parents, but I knew I needed the help. The demon inside me got really angry and wanted me to leave the hospital. I said goodbye to my parents and was taken upstairs. I was really scared and upset. This was the first time I was hospitalized. They put me on medication. It started to work because I was eating again, I was sleeping better, and I started talking a bit more. I was in UMDMJ for 2 weeks. I felt better when I came out. I started seeing a therapist and a psychiatrist, but I still felt a little control, and I knew the medication was still getting used to my body, so I didn't think anything of it. Months went by and I was doing okay. Then all of a sudden, I started going downhill. I stopped eating again, I couldn't sleep, I started cutting again. Casper would not allow me to do anything. It felt like I was being forced to feel depressed. More weeks went by, and one night, I got into a big argument with my dad. I was cursing at him, throwing things at him, yelling at him, and I knew it was not like me. So I decided that I would kill myself. That was my second time I tried to commit suicide. I went to go to the kitchen and found the biggest knife I could find. I wanted to stab myself in the chest, because that's what Casper wanted me to do. But I had a little control, and I sliced my arm twice. I went to shock right after I sliced my arm. I remember a lot of blood, and I somehow and somehow I found myself outside on the lawn in front of my house. Then all I remember was my dad on top of me putting pressure on my wound, and the ambulance coming and taking me to the hospital. I don't remember anything after that until the next day, when my arm was stitched up and wrapped up, and I was told I cut a ligament, a muscle, and a tendon, and that I was going to need surgery. I was very upset and angry. I didn't want any of this to happen. It was all thanks to Casper. That day, I went to another psychiatric hospital called Summit Oaks, my second hospitalization. I explained to the doctor that I had no control over my body and there was a demon inside me. I was put on new medication and spent 2.5 weeks in the hospital. The new medication they put me on really worked. I didn't feel the urge to cut. I was sleeping like a baby, and I had a little bit more control over my body. Not full control, but enough to control to eat, not cut, and sleep. Once I was released from the hospital, I told myself that Casper was going down, and I was in control of my own body. They put me in a day program called Princeton Behavioral Health. I didn't stay there very long because I had a job. The program helped me, but one day I had a really bad urge to kill myself. So I told the therapist and at the program, and they put me in a hospital, Princeton House hospitalization, my third hospitalization. I was getting sick and tired of being hospitalized, and it was all thanks to Casper. Again, I was put on more new medication. I was getting annoyed with that too, and I felt like a lab rat. No medication seemed to work. I stayed in a prison house for 2 weeks. While I was there, it felt like a cold air just came out of me, and it was Casper told me, "You win." I had full control of my body. It felt amazing. Once I was released from the hospital, I felt like a brand new person. I wanted to do everything Casper did let me do. Almost a year went by, and the medication was working, and I was feeling amazing. I wasn't cutting, I didn't feel depressed or suicidal, and it was a year of Hurricane Irene. My basement got flooded. So I was the first one to notice that my basement got flooded. So me and my dad worked to keep the water from coming in. I didn't sleep for 3 or more days straight. I didn't eat. I wasn't taking my medication, and I was so focused on the water from getting deeper. My dad slept a lot, but my dad helped a lot, but he slept. I had so much energy in me and determination. I didn't stop getting the water out. Finally, once the water subsided, I still had so much energy. I wasn't taking any type of medication for about a week. I felt so good, so my parents and I decided that why not stop the medication if you feel so good. Sadly, that was not a very good idea. Because one day I felt this cold air through me, and I can hear, "I'm back." God damn it, Casper is back. I started losing control of myself, told the therapist and the psychiatrist that Casper was back, and I was feeling suicidal. Here we go again. Right away, they put me back into the hospital. Summit Oaks again. My 4th hospitalization. I was just done with hospitals. They didn't change medication and just higher my dosage. They told me to never stop taking your medication. I should have learned my lesson. Sadly, Casper was still here with me. He wasn't leaving. He was making me feel depressed, but the medication made me feel better with the higher dose. I only spent 1 week in Summit Oaks. I got used to Casper telling me how to feel and what to feel and think. I know it wasn't good, but what else was I supposed to do? I still talked to my therapist. She was really good. She made me feel good about myself, even when Casper told me not to. I tried to ignore him the best I can, but it didn't work. I started feeling suicidal again, and I took some pills to try to kill myself.
Shelly?
Yeah.
We're gonna have an intermission.
Okay.
We have someone coming on after you.
Okay. So should I stop?
Yeah. So
Okay.
you wrap it up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, these things. Yeah?
Come on.
Oh, awesome. Let's see what you got.
I was only here. I had.
And I could right here.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
No,
Oh, okay.
I'm
Because
mom.
I saw like the one instead.
Sure. I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. It's not. Thank you.
You belong.
Say goodbye.
Thank you, everyone. Raymond is a local author. He wrote a, what is it, sci-fi military, what do you call it?
Fiction thriller.
Fiction thriller. So Solomon's Ring, he's going to read a portion and talk a little bit about it.
Hello, everyone. A little bit about me. I grew up in Metuchen. Graduated from high school here.
Yes.
Went to college. Went to Middlesex. After Middlesex, went to Jersey City State. Played sports, basketball, football in high school, basketball in college, and later joined the military. You know how they say go to college, get a degree, get a good job? Well, try that route. Didn't work. So I decided to join the military. I joined the Army and ended up spending 22 years in the Army. Now, my first year in the Army, I got sent to Iraq, Saudi Arabia, for Desert Storm, Desert Shield. You want to see a shocker? I was asking myself, hey, what happened? What are you doing here? I was in the middle of the desert, bombs dropping everywhere. This little kid from Metuchen, New Jersey, all the way out there in Iraq in the desert. You want to see someone scared? Who can imagine what that feels like, just to be surrounded by desert? I thought the desert was hot, by the way. Guess what? It's not. It's cold at night. During the summer days, I felt 130-degree heat. At nights, it dropped down to as low as 60, and that makes it feel like more like 20, 25, 30, cold. So I got initiated to what it feels like to go to war, and I was scared. We were all scared, but we got our strength from being together, from being Americans, from being an American soldier. It's something to be proud of. And we were proud of that. I saw Iraqi prisoners. We took a lot of prisoners back in '91. And we guarded them. We saw body bags. You know, for a young kid just getting out of college, you know, that was an eye-opener. All right, to what it's like to go to war for your country. It's a reality. Most people only dream of that. For me, it was a reality. So as I advanced through the ranks in the military, I got used to it. I got used to that way of life. All right, to be a soldier, because it's structured. Okay, when you join the military, you get trained, and you get trained to follow your orders, follow your instructions. And if you do that, you can be successful in the military. And I did that. I became a sergeant first class in later in my career in 2002. And I became a supervisor. After my first 3 years in the military, I became a sergeant. So I developed that structured way of living to do what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to be there. So when I had free time, I had nothing to do. You couldn't drink and drive. Not in the military anyway. If you wanted to have a successful military career. So, what should I do during my free time? Weekends, Saturdays, Sundays, when I was off. So I began writing. I had a nice, pretty desk, nice and big, because, you know, I had to do a lot of writing in the military. I had to counsel many soldiers, part of your duties as a non-commissioned officer. So I got used to sitting behind my desk and writing. By the way, this is a magazine that's published by this review company. They have a nice big, this is the second issue that was mailed to me. And right here on page 23, they have a picture of the cover book. You can take that and pass it around while I'm babbling on up here. So okay, I found myself with a lot of free time on the weekends. This is really my third book. The first one I don't claim anymore. It's called The Road to America's Economic Meltdown, which I published in 2009. And I didn't get along with that publisher. Can I say their name? Author House. Yeah, we didn't have a good relationship, so I pulled the book away from them, so they don't have the rights to publish it anymore. So if anyone sees that book or gets it, let me know so I can have a talk with them. My second novel was published 6 months later, and I love that novel. It's a multi-plot thriller. The title is Identity Assumption. And my intent was to continue on in this series of the Identity Assumption line of writing, which is action, suspense, thriller, a lot of drama, dark, mysterious. And so when, after Identity Assumption, I began to write Solomon's Ring, that was my intent. And while writing, I found myself following the character. Rather than directing the character to a certain point or certain outcomes, and it's a certain style of writing that a lot of authors use. They will follow the character. There's a very successful aviator, Colin Powell, once said that he uses a technique called Active X. In this technique, he's able to take himself out of his person and actually put it into his character, where he sees everything his character sees and feels everything his character feels. And let me get the name of exactly how he phrases it. I'll do that for you in a minute, but I found myself using that technique. It's like I saw everything my character sees. I felt everything my characters felt, and every description in this book is very descriptive, very in detail. I saw every room, every step that these characters took and went through, because as I was writing, I had all this time, which was basically from Friday evening when I got off work till Monday morning at 4:30 when I had to get up and get ready to go back to work. And that's what I did. When I got off from my job as being a soldier, I sat behind my desk and I just began to write. There were times when I looked up and the clock said 2 a.m. Saturday night, Friday night, Saturday morning. And I'm still pecking away on the computer, getting my character straight, getting the story straight, and following them in whatever direction that they led. In the end, that became Solomon's Ring. I've got different reviews on it, most positive. I have one review here that I am not invited here to read excerpts or rounds or chapters today. I'm here to introduce you to the title. Okay? So I won't be reading title chapters from the book, not today. I'm told that I'm going to be arranged to do that at some future time, and I look forward to doing that. And I hope that you will all return and hear some reading, some rounds from the novel. This is from a reviewer that really surprised me when I read this. They started out by saying, an ancient ring summons a winged demon that leaves mummified remains of U.S. cabinet members in its wake. FBI agent Robert Cole's latest case involves the murder of Treasury Secretary Benjamin Cheney, whose body seems to have withered instantly. At the same time, Cheney's ring, which reportedly belonged to King Solomon, had been stolen. Some believe that the ring had the power to control demons, but Cole and CIA agent Mayor Bloomberg are not sure. The vicious creature is killing at someone's directive, or if it's serving its own purpose. The author refines his novel with sharply worded descriptions. Emergency lights have bathed everything in flashes of red, blue, and yellow. Stark and stunning imagery, like body parts falling past the window. And even dashes of humor. Cole's response to a black hole theory, which causes others to fear the end of days, is not to worry. Instead, he gets fabulously drunk. And the review is summed up this way. Readers will be drawn in by the book's hideous, soul-snatching demons, but the true-to-life characters are the strongest of them. Now imagine, I don't know this reviewer. I have no idea who that reviewer is. Imagine how I felt when they wrote that after reading the novel. I think the publisher, which I use an independent publisher, because I decided to use an independent publisher because the novel was originally accepted by a traditional publisher out of Georgia, but they asked me one question. They said, would you be willing to wait 2 years to publish your novel? And I was very surprised by that question. They went on to say that a traditional publisher publishes 1% of the novels, the good stories that they receive each year, because their publishing schedules are set that far in advance, because they invest a certain amount of funds in the publication, the promoting, and so on and so forth. So they cannot accept every novel that comes before them, or publish every novel that comes before them immediately. So they have to schedule that time. So this publisher's publishing schedule was scheduled out 2 years in advance. And I appreciated the fact that they asked that question, because rather than just saying, yes, we'll publish your novel, we'll publish you, they said, they gave me the option of saying yes or no, if I wanted to wait 2 years. So I decided not to, because after it took me 3 years to complete the novel. After 3 years, I didn't want to wait an additional 2 years for it to be published. So I decided to use an independent publisher. That's one advantage that authors have these days. We can use independent publishers. And there are many, many big-name authors that are going independent these days. They're leaving the traditional publishers, and they are publishing their own novels because it is to their advantage. If you do the research, you'll find out that it's actually more to an author's advantage. It's more to a publisher's advantage, traditional publisher's advantage, to publish the author. but it's more to the individual author's advantage when he goes independent for various reasons. I'll leave it there for right now. Are there any questions of me? Anything anyone would like to know?
Yeah, just a quick question. Your last book, that book that you have out there that you did, where did you get that published at?
Solomon's Ring?
Yeah.
Solomon's Ring, I wanted to use Amazon, and the independent publishing side of Amazon is CreateSpace.
Yeah.
Because Amazon is the big gorilla in the room these days, because Amazon is both publisher and retailer. So I wanted to having used CreateSpace, I thought I would be in favor with Amazon. Right? Because even the traditional publishers today, they are concerned with Amazon, because Amazon can publish and can reach the readers. And the traditionals, matter of fact, they go through Amazon as well, because their material is being featured on Amazon. So Amazon is like the big gorilla in the room.
So does that mean that Amazon, when you something, when you want to buy it through Amazon, is it self-published? Is that what they consider self-published, or is Amazon behind you, or do you have to?
Amazon is, yes, Amazon is behind me. It's considered independent publishing.
Okay.
Independent. You know,
They used to
you
be
can
called
se-
self-published?
You can self-publish by having your book printed out
Okay.
and sent to you, and you do it all. I
Okay.
don't do that.
That's
No.
different.
No, I
Okay.
have to get it from them.
From Amazon?
Yes,
Okay.
because they have it.
So,
You know, when I get
Okay.
books, I have to order it from them, and then do it whatever from there. It goes through them.
so like you said, you had a problem with your first publisher.
That's really good.
So now this publisher is like, your publisher is Amazon, and you order through that. and then-
That was Author House.
Okay. Yeah, no, I understand. No, I got it.
Issues with Author
Right,
House. This is what the situation was with Author House. This is my third book,
Mhm.
okay? The first one, Road to America's Economic Meltdown, the military store
Mhm.
is called APHIS. They ordered a certain quantity of the novel, and I had books on it. Well, we sold out all the books. I was scheduled to be there for 3 hours. I was there for an hour and a half. I signed all the copies and sold all the books. It turned out that, and the store they were so impressed by that, they wanted to do it again. This happened twice. So they ordered more books, invited me to be there for a 3-hour block of time on a Saturday. I was there, I signed all the books, they sold out. But guess what? I didn't get my cut from Author House.
You have an extra an old copy of that? I was in the mortgage business.
I do have.
Really good. Okay, I'll see you afterwards. Thank you.
And then, same thing with my second book, Identity Assumption. I was in Korea, at the time I was stationed in Korea when I published Identity Assumption. And the local store there and the APHIS store in Korea ordered a huge quantity of books. And I had a little table set up at the front door with the books on it, and we sold out every book. I was scheduled to be there for 3 hours, I was there for an hour and a half. So we did it again. The bookstore did it again. We sold out every book. Okay, the general's wife came in, matter of fact. When I first sat at the desk, and she says, "Oh, I like that book. I have a copy." Now, I didn't recognize her. I hadn't seen her before. And I said, "You do?" And she goes, "Yes, I'm Miss Habla's wife." Okay, because I had given him a copy, and she read it. So that book was very successful as well, for my standpoint. So this is my third one. It's new. Everyone who reads it is like very impressed by it. So I would encourage you to give it a shot. Check it out. I'm here in Metuchen for a short time. I will be back in Metuchen, and I will schedule with the owner of the bookstore and return and do excerpt readings. All right, we'll do a couple chapters. I would like for that to be interactive, because there's lots and lots of dialogue going on in the book. So I would like to have someone here with me to do the female voice parts in the book. I don't want to do the male parts and the female parts. I would like to interact, sort of, screenplay, story play, scene play with the person, the characters in the book. All right? More questions? If you did get a copy today and read the thing, next time you could ask me a lot of questions about it. I'm sure you would develop some kind of question from having, gaining some familiarity with the stories. Okay?
All right.
Well, thank you guys.
Thank you for your service too.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for coming.
Right.
For walking around, or get something autographed by them.
No.
Oh, yes, if you're gonna get a book, I will sign it, for sure.
An extra $20.
No. Not at all. Huh?
Very nice. I don't get it.
This was cool. This was interesting.
Okay. Okay.
Very cute. Children's book. That's very really adorable. That was Jewish. I don't buy a book.
I would never buy it. I mean,
So I gave my mom, I go on the website, I was young, young kid, not young, but I mean, in their 20s, and her mom was here with him, it was nice, very cute. I didn't get to hear him. I didn't get to hear him. I got here just before the video wrote that. These are like good books for the
they
boys.
sold out of them. Are you not coming in money?
Well, I realized
Right. Right.
I don't know. I don't know, not the owner, it's the girl.
So what if you?
Second one is when
Uh-huh.
they're
I think-
Okay.
Don't worry.
So can you reprint the first and the
Yes.
second under with
I'll do that later.
Okay.
Are you gonna do your, did you do your reading
Yeah,
already?
that makes sense.
That's reading today.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, how do you do it next time? It just seems to me common sense that you should
I
benefit
didn't do
from.
my reading.
You know what I mean?
That's okay.
Actually, do
Maybe
that,
next
yeah.
time around.
Okay.
I'm not-
Yeah.
I want to get your camera in there so it looks like that.
Yes, I will. I wasn't prepared for this.
That picture.
Oh, well, that's great.
It's like
That's
some
I like it because it's like.
some things get snapped into me stories like they're rewritten. A lot of it is fiction.
Very good.
It was nice to meet you, I got your flyer.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Just the title alone, I'm
Don't worry. If you scratch them, let me know next
Okay.
Beautiful store.
Okay.
You know what's gonna happen to it now?
Yeah, I'm not.
Very nice, very
I
nice.
wanted to go
I'm
and
trying
check
to cherry
out
pick
how
some
But your job is
everything's done.
your job. You're not
Yeah, I know this
Yeah,
one.
Right,
it's
so-
injected like things were ground up and ready to go. I'll have my book out on print and everything else. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I was gonna read.
This is the only day I have off
So this is Main Street with Touch. You're only used to the Rude Awakening, but there's a lot of nice stores here. I'll see ya. Okay.
It's not
Goodbye. Ned. She's smart. She did
I
it.
start out the book with poems and then it starts
In the root, only if your neighbor is. Yeah, probably.
Well, the forward is actually chapter chapter 1, that's kind of like.
Yeah, that was cool. That was really nice.
You make smaller creating that's what meets
Oh, I see.
the actual
Okay.
Oh yeah? Yeah, Pauline is kids. Every time I see it, me, I never learned to read, but the kids, they're like, oh, right? Men look to read all day, they let him, right?
Okay.
When he's left him alone, he can read.
that actually helped you get
Right. Right.
So now, what's your first name? And she's 4 years old, and so the other one, the baby,
They're just assembled.
2 years old.
Okay.
You might get more church.
That's actually how I got started with that.
This is the fella here that wrote together.
Yeah.
Hey, yeah, how are you?
Good, good. My friend Pauline, her son
Pauline.
loves that kind of stuff.
Spooky stuff for kids? Yeah. It's spooky sci-fi. I'm not really big on sci-fi. You know, some people are really like Star Trek type of fans. If it's something like, there's all kinds.
Okay.
The only type of aliens that I like are the ones that are here to eat you.
Joe.
I need your Sure.
This fella.
Right. So then, when they say both product. Like that.
I rap to that all the time. In the meetings, I get one of these. I give
Really? Okay, the lowest bidder. Okay, but what else? Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Picture.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Oh, me and you,
There are no other factors that. No other.
History of Look like a nice family here. This is interesting. Any of you guys
like that.
Yeah, I am. You know.
You have a history, right?